This is One-on-One. John Hartmann is the author of Jacket, The Trials of a New Jersey Criminal Defense Attorney. Good to see you, John.
Nice to see you.
This book is interesting. You said you wrote it with your son in mind.
Yeah, my son, he just turned 7, but I'm an attorney, I'm a criminal defense attorney. Like any profession over the years, you pick up little tricks of the trade, and I was thinking maybe one day my son wants to become a lawyer. I can put this up in a shoebox and he can like look at it. And well, one thing led to another, and the book developed, and I managed to get it published.
And Jacket means your criminal history.
Yeah, it's slang for criminal case history. Whenever you meet a client, one of the first things I learned when I started practicing almost 20 years ago, always ask a person, what's your jacket like? So they know right away you're familiar with the lingo.
Interesting. Nate Smith, interesting character. 3 years in prison for a robbery he did not commit. A lot of people in prison say they are innocent, but you actually ran into another inmate who said to you, hey, quote, we all say we're innocent in here, but Nate really is innocent.
Yeah, the first time I met Nathaniel Smith, even then he had the reputation, this guy's really innocent. I had a guy who I had to meet at the workhouse, and he was telling me about his case. He had some lousy alibi defense, and he's leaving. He said, hey, Mr. Hartman, I hear you're representing Nathaniel Smith. And I said, yeah, I am. He said, well, he's really innocent. And I said, well, I know he is, but you told me you're innocent too. He said, yeah, but he really is innocent. It's funny. Yeah, there are very few people who get convicted are actually innocent. He's one of the very few people I've ever come across, maybe the only one that I personally had experience with, a guy who was wrongly convicted.
You know, it's interesting, the book has a humorous tone, but there are also serious parts of this too. Parts of the book give advice, I guess it's for first-time lawyers, about picking a jury, cross-examining a witness, the best, I imagine also the worst county jails. The keys to picking a jury, what would they be?
Well, from a criminal defense point of view, you want to pick people who take you're presumed to be innocent. You want to pick people who take that presumption serious. You want to pick people who are liberal. You want to pick folks.
Why liberal?
Because they're, quite frankly, more likely, and I'm a Republican, I'm pretty conservative, but you want people who are going to take that view more seriously. I like to pick folks who are Jewish. They tend, I hate to be generic.
Boy, you're profiling right now.
You know, well, that's what I can do this. I'm not the state. I can profile as much as I want. African Americans, folks like that. But again, most people give you a fair shot at a jury.
Well, since you're profiling, how are Italians on juries?
Not too good.
Wait a minute.
Just kidding.
Come on,
I'm
seriously.
Kidding. No, you know what? Just in all fairness, I ran for office once, and I ran as a Republican. And my general feeling is that if a guy voted for me, I probably don't want him in the jury box. He voted against me. He's probably a good person to have.
You actually ran for the state legislature.
Yeah, I was elected when I was 24.
You're one of the youngest Republicans.
Youngest Republican ever elected, and the youngest ex-assemblyman of either party. I was 26 when I lost.
That's interesting. 25 when elected, 27 when I lost.
Okay.
This should be a club for us. There's just two of us. It's a very small club.
It's unique.
It is unique.
It was a great experience. I got to help some people. In all fairness, I was a little out on my leg, but it was a great experience.
You have an interesting line where you say politicians and criminals are pretty similar. From your experience in the State House, you said, but on occasion, at least criminals tell you the truth.
You know,
now, are you being tongue-in-cheek there, John, or is that your commentary on politicians and criminals? And are you including the Governor Christie, in that?
Well, in all fairness, Governor Christie is one of the few politicians that I really admire.
Oh, except for him.
Well, I'll tell you why, because he's one of the few guys who really calls it straight. Now, that being said, I make fun of people like Jack Kemp in there as well. I've had an experience with him when he was in Trenton one day. But just in general, again, I just think people generally feel that politicians don't call it straight. And that was my general experience in the Assembly and being involved in politics. And obviously with criminal defense, it's the same thing. But again, I was being tongue-in-cheek to an extent.
Would you want, given your experience, John, would you actually want your son to become a lawyer?
You know what? He has to have the right disposition. I think he does. You have to be friendly. You have to like people. You have to. You can't sit behind a desk. From what I do, I wouldn't want my daughter to do it. I think it's a lousy profession for a woman. It's certainly tougher, but you know, almost all. There are a few exceptions, but almost all successful criminal defense attorneys are men. It's just.
Why do you think that is?
You know what? I hate to say it. It's just. I think you just get more respect when you go into it's. Let's face it, going into a jail is something which you're not comfortable with. It's, you know, a woman's going to be less comfortable than a man going into a jail, and you have to be willing to go to places like that. You have to be willing to deal with people who are rougher around the edges. You know, a lot of these guys too, my God, if you're an attractive looking woman, they're going to be hitting on you. I know some good looking public defenders, and you know, The guys, it's just
That's pretty sexist stuff.
Well, it's true. I mean, when we call it real, that's the way it is. And I wouldn't want my daughter to really be like that.
You would not want your daughter to
I would
be a
not want her to
criminal
be a criminal
defense
defense
attorney.
attorney. It's also.
She said to you, Dad, I have a passion for protecting innocent people who are wrongly accused. I want to be a criminal defense attorney. You say,
you know what, honey, if you want to do it, that's really what you want to do, but I read my book and make your decision after that. That's my suggestion.
but you really do think it's different being a female in this field versus a male?
Oh, absolutely. The other thing that's rougher about for a woman, I'm at court 3-4 nights a week, at least 3, sometimes 4, and it's, if you're raising a family, it's really tough. I'm very fortunate. I have a very good wife who stays at home, takes care of the children, but if she were working like that, we couldn't do it.
How did you write this book and when?
I wrote it usually in the morning. It took me about 5 months, and I just would get up around 5:30, write for an hour and a half, and that was it.
What kind of reaction have you gotten from your colleagues?
Pretty positive. I don't have any axes to grind. I try to, be fair to people. I had a general rule. If I was going to say something nice about a person, I was going to mention their name in the hope they would buy it. But that's a joke. But the few people I was kind of critical of, I didn't mention their name.
So it's interesting. You took a somewhat of a tongue-in-cheek tone in the book, but you're also serious as well. You do take shots at elected officials, politicians, if you will, as a class. But you don't take shots at lawyers, and lawyers take a lot of shots from the rest of us.
Correct.
Because?
I'm a lawyer. I'm not going to eat my own.
Why not?
Because it's for lawyers.
I know that a lot of us in the media, we're blowhards. We get on our soapbox and we're hypocrites in all kinds of ways.
You're not.
Well, I'm not, because I'm better than the rest. But
Correct.
the reality is that's a joke. But the reality is this. Do you think that a significant amount of criticism that the legal field takes is warranted?
Not really.
Because?
Listen, I try to explain what it was like to be a criminal defense attorney here. It's not like I'm out there digging ditches in the middle of the summer. It's not that difficult a job, but we serve an important purpose to defend people.
And if you need one.
People are often critical of lawyers until you need one, or your kid gets in trouble for a DWI or worse, and all of a sudden you want me to, rip the prosecutor's throat out. But until then,
all the things people complain about lawyers until
they get in trouble. That's just, but that's just the way it is. I'm not talking about other type. Divorce lawyers have a bad reputation because people go to see them when they get divorced. It's very unpleasant.
It's the circumstance.
It's pretty much the circumstances. But I take some shots at lawyers. I can't think of any, but I'm sure there are some there.
You love the law, don't you?
I like the law a lot. You know what it is? I like the people. I like the stories. I like dealing with people. I see a whole host of different people every day. People who have Ivy League degrees to people who are just getting out of rehab.
Well, it's an interesting life, and it's an interesting book, and I suggest everyone go out and get it. It's called Jacket, which refers to your criminal history.
Correct.
The trials of a New Jersey criminal defense attorney, John Hartmann. You did quite well since you got out of the legislature.
I did okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Adubato.
One-on-One will continue right after this. Stay with us. Good job.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Wells Fargo, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, PSE&G, and by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by The Star Ledger and NJ.com, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.